So we've got adding and subtracting. Today we're going to move on to multiplying. So will you please title today Multiplying Polynomials. Multiplying polynomials. So the key today that we've got to remember that we kind of touched on the warm-up is that if you're multiplying variables that have the same base, you have to add their exponents. That's our rule of multiplying powers. You add the exponents together. Because a lot of our polynomials do have exponents on them. So if you're timesing, you got to add the exponents together. That's the thing we got to remember today. So will you write down this first one for me? 3x times 2x squared plus 8x. So if you just have one monomial in front of a parenthesis, it just wants you to distribute that in. Now on Alex, you guys, sometimes they put it on the other side. If the 3x is over here, it's the same thing. It just wants you to multiply it in. I'm not sure why they do that, but just to show you that it's the same. We just take it one at a time and multiply them. So Ava, if we're going to times these, tell me what would you get with 3x times 2x squared? 6x, and if you cubed. Yeah, you have to add those exponents. You guys got to keep that in your brain. Add the exponents. 1 and 2 gives us 3. And then if we times 3x times 8x, 24x squared. Yes, 1 and 1 is x squared. Now, are these two like terms? No, the different powers make them not like terms, so you cannot put them together. Okay, so that's how we just multiply a monomial into, this one's a binomial, but it could be anything. Now we're going to look at some other types of multiplying. The next one we want to look at is a binomial times a binomial. So we write down next, please. Binomial times another binomial. So there's a process that we have to take when we do this, and I'm going to show you two methods that you can choose from. You can decide. The first one is the box method. So we write box method and write down this example, 2x plus 3 times 8x minus 4. So a binomial times a binomial. And you'll need a 2x2 table, a box. So if you'll just draw a quick 2x2, and I'm going to show you how this box is going to help you make sure you multiply everything you need to. So basically, if you're doing a binomial times a binomial, your job is to take the first term and times it to both of the other two, and the second one and times it to both the other two. So the box is just a way to organize that for you. So this is an option. It's not mandatory. It's just an option for you. So this is how you set it up. So on your box, in your notes, I want you to take the first binomial and you put the terms along the left side. The 2x on the top row and the 3 on the bottom row. Then you take the second binomial and put it along the top. So the first column with 8x and the second column with a negative 4. If it's minus, you have to bring that along because it's a negative 4. Now let's just make sure that you multiply everything together that you're supposed to. It's just an organizing tool to help you get there. So to find the first box, I've got my 8x and my 2x next to it, so I'm supposed to times those. 8x times 2x. Logan, what would we get with 8x times 2x? Good, 16x squared. Don't forget to add your exponents. So everybody fill that in your first box. The second one, I've got my negative 4 and my 2x, so I'm supposed to times those. So Kyle, what would you get with negative 4 times 2x? Good, negative 8x. Okay, that's my top row. Now I do the same with the bottom. The bottom, I've got my 8 with the 3, my 8x with 3. So Luis, what would we get with 8x times our 3? 24x, good. And then Branson, how about the negative 3 and the 4, or the negative 4 and the 3? Negative 12. So that's how you fill in your box. You multiply the two that make your box. Any questions so far on that? Now your answer though, you're going to write it out as a polynomial. You got to write out the answer. These are all the terms that go in your polynomial. You want to start with the highest power. So write your highest power first. I see a lot of you not writing. Please do this with me. You put the highest power first, and then the next one would be the x. I've got two of them, so you need to combine them together. What would 24x and negative 8x give you? Good, 16x, and then finally the negative 12. So any like terms need to be put together. Start with your highest power, then the next, and then the lowest, and you've got it done. So this is the answer to the binomial times the binomial. Okay, let's try one more box just to get it in your brain good. Will you please write down this number 2, negative x plus 3 times 2x minus 4, and draw another box. Just practice one more box with me. You don't have to use this option, but if you like it, you're welcome to use it. It's a good organizing way to make sure you times everything. So take your first binomial, write those terms along the left side. So a negative x and a 3. Take the second one and write it along the top. If you have a minus, make sure you bring it, because you gotta put it with it. Now technically, you guys, you could put the second binomial along the left and the first one along the top. That really doesn't matter, but just keeping it consistent helps. First one along the left, second one along the top. Okay, let's fill in our boxes then. Skylar, what would we get on this first one? 2x times negative x. Okay, if we were adding them, but we gotta times them. So negative 2x squared, yes. Times them up, yep. Negative 2x squared, good. Kesley, how about our second box? Negative 4 times negative x. And what's a negative times a negative? A positive. Positive 4x, good. Okay, let's fill in the bottom row. Gavin, what are we gonna get here? 6x, nicely done. All right, Haven, how about the last one? And negative 12, good. So these are all the terms that make up your answer. Take the highest power first. You'll most likely have some like terms. Put the x's together, what do we have? 10x and then minus 12, and you've got it done. You've got that multiplied. Okay, there's the box organizing way. Any questions I can clear up on this? Do we need to see another box? Okay. Let's look at the second method then. Whoops. This way. The second method is called the FOIL method. Will you please write down the FOIL method? This is just another way that will help you make sure everything gets multiplied together. And we actually kind of did this with our radicals. Remember we said you take the first one and times it in, take the second one and times it in, we distributed twice. FOIL is an acronym that helps us remember to do all of that. So let's just write down what FOIL means. The F, it's telling you to multiply the firsts, the terms in the front of each parenthesis. That's what it means, these two. The x times the x, the first ones in each parenthesis. Is saying multiply those. Then the O is telling me to multiply the outside numbers. So I'm taking my x to the x and then my x to the negative 3. So the ones on the outside of your problem. The outside two. The x and the negative 3. Okay, then the I, what do you suppose it means? The insides. Yes, that means the two on the inside of your problem. So the 2 and the x in this case are the insides. And then finally L, what would that mean? The last. Yep, the last one. So the last numbers. So that's just an acronym that helps you remember everything that needs to be multiplied. You're just distributing twice. You're taking the first one, multiplying it to both. That's our first outside. And then take the second one and multiply it both. So the insides and the lasts get multiplied. That just helps you remember all of them. So that's another option. Let's try this one. If you haven't written down x plus 2 and x minus 3, will you please, let's try the FOIL method. The FOIL. So we just do the firsts, x times x. Seth, what will we get with x times x? X squared, very nice. That's our firsts. Okay, outsides. Ruby, what would we get on the outsides? Very nice, good. So firsts, outsides. So the x is done. Now we move to the insides. Everybody tell me what's 2 times x? 2x. And then finally the lasts, negative 6. So this would be what you would end up in your box. Those are the 4 things that would be in your box. You're doing the same thing, just a little bit quicker way. And you'll still have those like terms that you'll need to get together most of the time in the middle. What's negative 3x and 2x? Negative x. You want to put those together for your final answer. So first, outside, inside, last. First, outside, inside, last. That just makes you multiply twice, distribute twice. Let's try that method one more time. Will you please write down this number 2? We got negative 2x minus 8 times 6x plus 2. The FOIL method just helps you remember to multiply everything together. So our firsts, what are we going to get on the firsts? Negative 12x squared. Good, negative 12x squared. Okay, our outsides, Kennedy, what would we get on the outsides?
Sorry, I was
You're good. Negative 2x times 2.
Oh yeah, negative 4x.
Negative 4x, okay. So first, outsides. Emma, how about the insides? Good, negative 48x. And the last, Grady, what are we going to get on the lasts?
Negative 16.
Negative 16. Anything I can clear up on what we're doing with these? First, outside, inside, last. And then just be sure to combine your like terms. What's negative 4x and negative 48x? Negative 52x. And that one is done. That one's done. Okay. Foiling. So just distributing twice. And the FOIL word just helps you remember. Okay, let's look at some special cases. Will you write down next, please, sum and difference pattern? These are some special types of binomials that kind of follow a pattern every time we do them. So they've become a special case. Sum and difference. What does sum mean? Add. What does difference mean? Subtract. So will you write down this first example? As you're writing it, what do you notice about those two binomials? Same. Just add and subtract, right? So when you have the exact same binomial, one's an add, one's a subtract, something peculiar kind of happens when we multiply them together. Let's just do this really quickly. Let's first outside, inside, last, and get our answer. Everybody tell me, what's n times n? Good. First, outside, how about n times negative 6? Negative 6n. How about the insides? 6n. And the last, negative 36. Okay, look at my like terms. What's going to happen? They're going to zero right out, and we're left with n squared minus 36. They're going to zero right out. So take a look at this sum and difference. Same thing, positive and negative. Do you think those middle two will zero out again? So what would we be left with?
X squared subtract 9.
X squared minus 9. So if you recognize that you have a sum and difference of the same thing, you can know that the middle two are going to zero out, and you can just do the firsts and the lasts and get your answer. You got to be careful. That only works if they're exactly the same, one positive, one negative, making the two in the middle zero. So you could use a little shortcut on that if you remember it, but just be careful. It has to be a sum and difference of the same. The same. Okay, that's our sum and difference. Let's look at one other pattern. It's called a binomial square. So we just write down binomial squares. A binomial square, and if you'll write down x plus 4 squared. So we got to think about what the power of 2 is actually telling you to do. For example, if I had 6 to the second power, Hudson, what does 6 to the second want me to do? It's saying times it by itself. So if I look at this power of 2 is telling me to times this binomial by itself. It's telling me to do x plus 4 times x plus 4. So you need to actually write 2 of them and multiply it out. You're going to have to FOIL, making sure you distribute twice. So make sure you've got this in your notes. If you've got a power of 2, that means you've got 2 of them. You've got to create 2 of them and actually do a FOILing, the first, outside, inside, last. You got to times all 4 together. So don't let that trick you into thinking you can just do like x squared and 16. That doesn't work. You have to make 2 of them and multiply it out. So we get our first. You guys, what's x times x? X squared. What's x times 4 on the outside? 4x. Insides. 4x, and my last 16, I can put my like terms together and get 8x in the middle. But just know, if you see a power of 2 on a binomial, you have to write 2 of them to get the correct answer. That power of 2 says times it by itself. So you actually have to times it by itself. Multiply everything to everything. You'll get 4 things, but 2 will combine to be together. Okay, any questions on the squares? Make 2 and then just either box it or FOIL it out. Okay, last thing. You can also do a binomial times a trinomial. So we write down this last example. We got an x plus 5 as a binomial times x squared minus 3x minus 2. And really it's nothing different. You just got an extra number in there or a term in there that you have to deal with. So it's the same process. You just take the first part of your binomial and you're going to times it into all 3 of the trinomial. And then do the same with the 5. Times it in to all 3 and get your answer. So let's do that. Let's do that quickly. X times x squared. Oh, good. X cubed. Yeah, x cubed. Okay, x times 3x. Okay, 3x squared. Good. How about x times our negative 2? Negative 2x. Okay, we did the x to all 3. Now we got to do the 5 to all 3. What's 5 times x squared? 5x squared. How about 5 times negative 3x? Good. Negative 15x. 5 times my negative 2? Negative 10. You're going to have 6 terms in this polynomial because you multiplied twice through there. Now we just combine what we can. I've got my x to the third first. Any other x to the thirds in there? Nope. Okay, that's going to stay. How about our x squareds? What are we going to end up with? 2x squareds. How about the plain x's? Nice. Negative 17, and then finally minus 10. Minus 10. So the ones that can come together, bring them together. Otherwise, you got to leave them. So it's just a longer process. Same thing, though. Times the x to all 3, times the 5 to all 3, and you're good to go. Any questions on multiplying? Just remember to add your exponents. When you times 2 letters together, add their exponents together. Okay, will you title your assignment today, please? Multiplying polynomials. You can choose the method you want to do. If you like the box, go for the box. If you are fine foiling, just foil. Either way is good.
Okay, transformations.